Hey everybody, this is Kenny Cummins here of Chilling with Kenny C right here on TMVcafe.com, bringing you entertainment to your ears. And I'm very excited to be joined with my guest. She's originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She's a singer, she's a songwriter. She's been traveling throughout this year. Her latest single is called Single in My 20s. That is available on all streaming platforms right now. I am joined with Charlotte Morris with me right
Hey,
now. How's it going?
good, good. How are you?
Good. I want to say before I get into the questions, thank you for being on. That's number one. And number two, I saw Charlotte, I think it was last month, or maybe it was the month before that. She performed in Lexington, Kentucky at a coffee shop called Kenwood Table. And that was a fun night. I love checking out shows like that, acoustic shows and songwriting shows and storytelling type of shows, things like that. And I like seeing different people. I love independent music. I go to shows like that regularly, especially on the weekends. So it was refreshing to see someone like yourself uh, being on that stage, and it was a good time.
Well, yeah, thank you for coming out. That was a fun night, and I've actually been in Lexington a few times this year and always have a great time. So I was happy to be back.
That's good to hear. So I definitely want to chat with you about that single. Single in my 20s. We'll definitely get into that in just a bit. But how did you get started into music?
Yeah, so I started really young. I actually started in classical music. So I started playing violin classically when I was about 4 years old, and took lessons for a really long time, like played in orchestras and did the whole classical music thing and kind of picked things up from there, but always had this love for music. And as I got older, I started to sing a lot more, take voice lessons, and like kind of I think discovered for the first time that I could actually like write my own songs. Like this wasn't some nebulous thing that was, untouchable. And so started writing my own songs, taught myself guitar to write, and it just kind of grew from there and have picked a lot of stuff up along the way. And now we're here. So age four to here.
So I see you describe your style of music as genuine, raw, and emotional music with a purpose. Now, with artists in particular, that everybody goes through something. Everybody goes through the highs and the lows, whether it's relationships, whether it's friendships or family or something that you go through on your own. Talk about the whole process of songwriting as far as like how you feel, like what was it like for you in the songwriting session, like get these feelings out.
Yeah, I mean one of the reasons why that's kind of how I think about my music is because everything that I'm writing is autobiographical and about my life and things I've gone through or things that I've seen, family and friends go through. And so when I'm sharing something on stage, like I really am basically ripping out a page of like my diary and handing it to people. And so because of that, like the writing process itself is typically a very like cathartic and therapeutic process. Obviously, if the song topic is a little bit lighter, there's a little less weight to the writing process, but um, especially writing some of my more I guess I would just say more emotional songs like Good Kind of Hurt and Love Ain't Real and songs like that that are talking about some like pretty heavy topics. going through that process, writing the song very much is like me processing through my emotions, me processing through my experience, and ultimately like figuring out how to move past it or move with it into the rest of my life. So basically a therapy session is what I would say all of my writing sessions are.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head with that word, therapeutic. It definitely feels therapeutic for any music artist that express themselves the way that they do, and that when a listener hears a song, there's always going to be someone that listens to a song and makes them feel some kind of way, and some will be like, oh, I feel where she's coming from. I either that listener been through something, or someone that they know and love been through something.
Yeah,
It speaks volumes, as an artist, as a songwriter. So, um, you know, music has a way of impacting people's lives, and maybe it could be that song or that line or maybe that chorus. Maybe it could be a song in particular that helps them get through what they were going through at the time. So,
exactly.
so when I heard your music live in person, you sounded very unique. You definitely very thoughtful with your music. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what I heard at the Kingwood table. So I'm glad that you've been to Lexington on a regular. I have some friends in the music scene that likes to keep secrets from me. That be like, hiding talent like yourself, and I had to find out later after the fact. But that's just how it is sometimes. So I know who Charlotte Morris is now. If I didn't know
I'm
back then,
glad.
then I know now.
Very good.
Uh, so yeah, I know who Charlotte Morris is. She's incredible. Um, so I see like some of your inspirations, some of your artists that you look up to, like a Delta Ray or Brainy Carlisle, who I extremely love, or Sarah, or Ballerini, Marie Morris, or even the Chicks. Now we talking, you know, woman that really puts the work in. Talk about being inspired by not just those females artists, but just anyone that just has the platform that they have, and they just have that timeless music that makes you feel some kind of way. Talk about some of these artists and how much they mean to you as a fellow recording artist.
Yeah. So, yeah, I could go on and on. Like, I feel like when people ask, who am I inspired by? What am I influenced by? That list is pretty endless. But I think some of the main folks and kind of like the original folks that really inspired me were classic folk artists like of the 60s and 70s. So Joni Mitchell, Judy Collins, Joan Baez. Like these were women who were kind of some of the first at like writing their own music. Like there was a really long time in the music industry where women weren't songwriters, and there were obviously always women writing music, but in terms of what was actually kind of given airtime, what was given popularity, so many of the songwriters were men, and then the women that you would hear performing them, they weren't necessarily performing their own music. And once you get into like the 50s, 60s, 70s, that's when it really starts to shift, and female songwriters start to come out of the woodwork and actually be, given airtime, and women start performing like their own songs. And so those folk artists were some of like the first really kind of commercially successful female songwriters singing their own music, and singing music that was actually like about their lives, that was autobiographical, that was very like raw and emotional and storytelling. And so listening to I mean, they obviously have just like incredible catalogs and are incredible artists. And so just listening to the way that they craft their words, the way that they play around with melody has been a huge inspiration to me, but also just the way that they pushed forward in an industry that wasn't necessarily open to women has been a huge inspiration, and kind of thinking through like what would I want to leave behind for a younger generation if I ever got to that type of level, like what would I want to kind of be for the folks coming after me. And so that's those folks, the women of kind of the folk movement, are some of my original inspirations, but then there are so many strong female storytellers today. And you mentioned a bunch of them with, Brandy Carlisle, Sarah Bareilles, Maren Morris, Kelsey Ballerini. Like there's so many really amazing female artists who are sharing their experiences through song and paving their own unique paths while doing it. And I think something I've been thinking about more recently is in the music industry, like there's a lot of boxes that you're kind of told to fit into if you are an indie artist or like an artist starting out, whether that's like a genre box or saying you have to look a certain way or sound a certain way or whatever that is. And a lot of what inspires me about some of the artists that we named is that they kind of, they created their own box, and they basically said no to the boxes, and said no to kind of like making themselves more quote unquote palatable. And that's kind of what's led to their success. So that's one of the many things that I absolutely love about them, but that's really inspired me and allowed me to kind of not box myself in when I'm writing and performing.
Yeah, I've had a chance to see Brandy a few years ago, and it was at a festival here in Lexington, Wellbird Festival.
Mm.
Um, that was like the biggest music festival I've ever been to in my life. Talk about hundreds of sweaty people, it was just, it was a different atmosphere. Brandy, you know, you said it, she's talented, songwriter and everything. But her on that stage, she's on another level. She got that crowd going,
Yeah.
everybody holding hands and singing word for word. And it's like we all having whatever issues people was having prior to her set, it went away. Brandy just like, she just she was like the therapy session, everybody just like, everybody hold your hands, you know what I'm saying, and just let's just have fun for
Yeah.
for like an hour or so. She's incredible. I feel like female artists, whether it's folk, whether it's Americana, whether it's country, they come a long way. It felt like back then they weren't getting the radio play. They weren't getting like the same opportunities that their male counterparts are. And
Mhm.
while there's been some progress, there's still more work to be done. It shouldn't just settle for like, oh, we good now. Nah, nah, nah. We have to
No,
do more.
always more to be done. Absolutely.
So yeah, and you know, I want to see Maureen Morris one day. I want to see her so bad.
She is incredible.
Uh,
She really
yeah,
is. She's incredible.
yeah, yeah. She's wonderful. She's talented too. Um, so this single you got, uh, single in my 20s. This is your latest single. It came out uh last almost a month ago. Actually, came out
Yeah,
July
yeah, about a month
26th.
ago.
So give me the backstory of this song. How did it came to be?
Yeah. So I'm in my 20s, and I find that a lot of people care really strongly like about my love life and like they really are concerned about, like you should date more, you should be in a relationship, all of these things. And it all comes from like such a genuine, like loving place from people in my life, friends, family, the whole thing. And but for me, I'm like, I have so many things going on. Like I'm touring constantly, I'm putting out music, like I have so many other directions in which my life is being pulled, and that for me, at least at this moment, like are my priorities. And so like dating, like my love life is not my priority. Like being like loving myself, huge priority, my music, huge priority. Um, but it's just kind of funny because I have to kind of tell folks a fair amount, like I'm really happy being single at the moment, and I'm happy with what my life looks like at the moment. Um, because everybody's path is different, but not everybody necessarily hears that. And so I just kind of had this in my brain for a while, kind of like the hook of, single in my 20s, like so what, I'm single in my 20s. And so I brought it to a writing session with my friend Jake Arthur, and we wrote this song, and it just was like a fun bop. Like we had so much fun writing it. It's so light and fun and like all about self-love and being happy with like who you are as a person, not needing another person to make you happy and like to validate yourself. Like if you can love yourself and be happy alone, like then maybe later you get into that relationship, but you definitely have to be okay alone first. And so we wrote this, and it was so much fun, and I like loved it the second we finished it. And we wrote it earlier this year, and typically when I write songs, I will like sit on them for a while, and maybe I'll go in and record them like a couple months later or like a year later. Like I don't really push music out that quickly from when I write it to when I release it. But I turn 30 this December. And so I was like, I have to release this before I turn 30 because then I'll no longer be single in my 20s. So we got into the studio a couple weeks after finishing the song, and put it all down and released it in July. And so it was like maybe 3 months start to finish, 3.5 months. It was really fast. And I'm so happy with how it turned out, and so happy to have it out in the world. And I think it resonates with a lot of folks because there's a lot of pressure to like be in relationships, and a lot of pressure from society, like be coupled up. Um, but that's not what everybody wants all the time.
After listening to the song and hearing your exclamation behind it, I feel like there's a huge lift off my shoulders. Um, as you point out, you got family, you got friends, you got loved ones. They're gonna try to encourage you to go on a date and go out, mingle, things like that. Now you are a musician, so that's like a big deal. That's your passion, and you don't want anyone or anything getting in the way of that. Um, Now I'm not a musician, but I am someone that goes out on the regular. I go to shows, I go to music shows, I go to comedy shows, I go to wrestling shows. I'm very happy with my life. I'm happy with who I am. I'm happy with what I've done. I'm happy with just being me and me, myself, and I. Would I love, would I like to have a girlfriend, a significant other in the foreseeable future? Probably, but it's not in the cards for me now. I mean, I feel I feel peace of where I am in my life. I'm 40, by the way. I may not look that way, but I am 40. I turned 40 this past June.
Happy
So
birthday.
I feel I feel at peace with my life. And if I don't find a significant other, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
I've had a good life living in this world, being a podcaster, being an advocate for independent music. that's my passion. That's what I like to do.
Mm.
So I don't know if being in a relationship, but I don't know. It's just something that I don't want to take any chances, and so to my family, to my loved ones, I love y'all dearly, but I'm good. The only love I got is y'all and my friends. That's all the love I need. That's all
Yeah.
the love I need.
Yeah, I think you said it really perfectly that there's a lot going on. And I think, when you find the right person to include in everything that you're doing in your life, that is amazing if that happens. But
Yeah.
like, you don't want to force somebody, you don't want to force somebody into your life that will then disrupt the things that you're already doing and loving and feel so strongly and passionate about if it's not going to be the right thing. And so I think, you're right. Like, if there's a point in my future where I find a partner, incredible. Looking forward to it. But like, I'm not really stressed about getting to that day anytime soon because yeah, I love what I'm doing. And um my you can find fulfillment in so many other ways in life. Like, you don't need a relationship to have fulfillment. And everybody has a different timeline. Like, some people find their person that they know they want to be with when they're like 14, and some people they find them when they're 60. It's just everybody is on their own path and nobody needs rushing.
I feel like you're my therapist, and I thank you, Miss Morris,
Of course.
for that
Hi.
soliloquy. Uh, I was I sometimes I needed that, I needed that. I needed that. That I just needed that. So thank you
Of
for
course.
that. Um, Lastly, as I've known you to be a very active, busy, traveling on the road, you have a plethora of shows that is coming. So tell the people, where can they find you in the coming weeks?
Yeah. So, yes, I've been on tour all year, my Wild Child tour for my album that I released last fall. And the final leg of that tour starts September 7th. And so I will have a lot of shows up and down the East Coast this fall. So I will be in Havertown, Pennsylvania, Haverford, Pennsylvania, Wayne, Pennsylvania, a lot of Pennsylvania. Kennett Square. I'll be in Maryland, right outside of Baltimore. I'll be in Maryland, right outside of DC. I'll be up in Plymouth, Massachusetts. And then I kind of arch back down the coast, and then I'll start heading back towards Nashville. And I have some shows in North Carolina, in Tennessee, and then I'll get home. But all of the dates that I have upcoming, they're on my website, which is charlottemorrismusic.com. And so all of that's there with like dates, times, locations. But it's the last leg of this tour. It'll be a 30 city tour when I close it out. And I've been on the road for a long time. So I'm definitely excited to get home, but I've been loving being on the road, meeting so many folks, being able to play in so many different venues, and it's just been incredible.
So Miss Morris got a lot on the horizon. So go check out their shows. She's gonna add more to them. So just keep an eye out. Check out the album, Wild Child, uh, and check out the latest single in my 20s. She had quite the deadline for that song. She had to get it out before
Too.
turning it the big 3-0 in December. So thank you, Charlotte, for your time.
Of course.
This may have been one of the most insightful, perspective, and the word of the day, therapeutic interviews I've ever done.
Oh my
Not
God.
just so.
High praise.
So yes, you pass with all flying colors.
Wow.
So I'm glad I was able to get this with you before you reignite the tour. So thank you again, and hopefully you'll come back to Lexington maybe next year or so, or maybe before years end. Who knows? But thank you, Charlotte, for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, that is going to conclude the interview for Charlotte Morris. I'm Kenny Cummins signing off. Please check out her music. Check out Charlotte Morris on all social media platforms and the music platforms as well. Go listen to independent music. I promise you, you'll feel very better about yourself, and you'll feel like you are making a difference in these talented musicians. Um, I feel better listening to Charlotte Morris. Her music resonates. It really does. Thank you, Charlotte. You have a good night.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.